All right, let's dive into an objective historical look at the life, the documented miracles, and the massive cultural ripple effect of Jesus of Nazareth. Relying closely on ancient texts, we're going to explore exactly how a single historical figure completely reshaped human history. Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start with the origins of the Messiah, then look at documenting the major miracles, followed by cultural impact and opposition. After that, we'll cover the crucifixion and cross, resurrection and ascension, and finally wrap up with the modern legacy. Let's get right into it.
Part 1. Origins of the Messiah, looking at the historical context of his birth.
So, according to the ancient texts, this whole story actually kicks off with a divine prophecy delivered by an angel to a young woman named Mary. Grounding this in history, scholars estimate Jesus was born somewhere between 4 and 7 BC. Because the Roman Emperor Augustus ordered a massive census, Mary and her fiancé Joseph had to pack up and travel to Bethlehem, and you probably know the story. The town was completely booked, so they ended up staying in a stable. It's pretty wild to think that this specific, historically documented moment, which followers believe fulfilled ancient prophecies, literally gave us the modern global celebration of Christmas.
Moving right along to Part 2, documenting the major miracles and the textual evidence behind them.
You see, people back then didn't just up and follow Jesus solely because of old prophecies. They followed him because he was doing things that completely defied the laws of nature. And we're not just dealing with vague word-of-mouth legends here. We can actually trace 3 major narrative-shifting miracles straight back to exact textual sources in the texts of John, Luke, and Mark. This lets us see exactly what the witnesses believed they were seeing in real time.
Take this, for instance. According to the Gospel of John, chapter 2, his first major miracle went down at a wedding. The celebration completely runs out of wine, right? So, at his mother's request, Jesus reportedly takes roughly 150 gallons of plain water and turns it into top-tier wine. Think about that volume, 150 gallons. This wasn't some simple parlor trick. It was the exact spark that signaled to his early followers that they were dealing with something entirely unprecedented.
But it gets even more intense. The Gospel of Luke recounts a seriously emotional moment in a town called Nain. Jesus comes across a grieving widow who has just lost her only son. The texts say Jesus was moved with absolute deep compassion. He walks right up to the coffin, touches it, and miraculously brings the dead son back to life, stating, "Young man, I say to you, get up." And the boy wakes up. I mean, can you imagine? That completely stunned the witnesses, and public reverence for him absolutely skyrocketed.
And this momentum just kept building. The Gospel of Mark describes Jesus trying to retreat to a quiet place, but thousands of people just track him down anyway. When his disciples suggest sending the hungry crowd away to find food, Jesus just takes 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. That's it. And from that tiny amount, he reportedly feeds a staggering 5,000 people. Miracles of this massive magnitude are exactly what cemented his rock star status among the common people as a divine figure.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 3, the cultural impact in opposition, or what we can call the ripple effect.
Here's the thing. You just can't gather thousands of devoted followers in the ancient world without seriously ruffling the feathers of the people in charge. So, a massive cultural divide opens up. On one hand, you have the general public, who revered him as a divine healer and the prophesied Messiah. But on the exact opposite side, the Roman and religious authorities are looking at those very same events and seeing a major political threat, a religious rule breaker, and a potential rebel king.
To break that down a bit, religious authorities felt deeply threatened because Jesus was out there actively calling out their hypocrisy. He essentially argued they were turning people into psychological slaves with all these empty, rigid rituals. Meanwhile, the Roman officials, they were terrified. Now, Jesus never directly challenged Roman governance himself, but Rome feared that anyone commanding the loyalty of thousands could easily start an independent kingdom and trigger a massive, bloody rebellion. And that brings us to Part 4, the crucifixion and cross, looking at the historical execution. So, all these mounting religious and political fears finally collide in a trial overseen by Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor of Judea. Even though no actual charges of rebellion were ever proven, the immense pressure essentially forced Pilate's hand to order death by crucifixion. And this was a notoriously brutal Roman method of execution. Historical accounts tell us Jesus, alongside 2 criminals, was nailed to a wooden cross at 9 a.m. and hung there in agony until his death at around 3 p.m. The Gospel of John also notes an incredibly poignant detail.
A sign was placed right above his head on that cross. It read, Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. And it was written out in 3 languages, Hebrew, Latin, and Greek. That single horrific execution event forever cemented the cross as the central, enduring symbol of the entire Christian faith.
Now let's move to Section 5, Resurrection and Ascension, exploring the final claims. According to the source material, the story absolutely did not end at 3 p.m. on that Friday. After his death, Jesus was placed in a cave tomb. But then, just 3 days later, his followers arrived only to find that tomb completely empty. The texts claim the resurrected Jesus then actually appeared to his closest followers, like Mary Magdalene, and spent 40 days on earth continuing to teach his disciples before finally ascending into heaven.
Finally, we arrive at Section 6, the modern legacy and its global reach. So what actually happened after he left? Well, his followers didn't just pack up and fade into obscurity. They catalyzed a movement. Starting from just those first few dedicated disciples spreading his teachings, the movement exploded globally. Today, Christianity stands as the single most widely followed religion in the entire world, reaching billions of people. It's a truly unprecedented cultural impact. But we also have to look at the darker side of this legacy, which historical sources thoroughly document. Over the centuries, the religion has frequently been co-opted for personal and political gain. History is full of crusades and holy wars waged under his name, not to mention periods where scientific progress was literally halted over claims of heresy. And yeah, even in modern times, we see documented instances of people exploiting faith to sell false miracles and just perpetuate religious division. It's a stark reminder of how humans have often weaponized the very teachings that were originally meant to heal. But if we look past all that centuries-old institutional baggage, the original documented message of Jesus was fundamentally rooted in radical charity, love, and healing. So I want to leave you with this final practical thought. In our modern world, which so often just celebrates the commercialized, surface-level spirit of Christmas, how can you return to those original historical roots? How will you step up, embody that true spirit of giving, and maybe be a positive force for someone in need today? Think about it. Thanks for diving into this explainer with me. Keep asking questions, keep learning, and I'll catch you in the next one.